Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this scene. March 22nd, 2025, over the Red Sea. You've got an American F-16 fighter jet, seems like a routine patrol, and then suddenly, bam, radar locks onto it.
Right. Not just a lock, but then the next signal is even worse.
Yeah, the really ominous sign, a missile launch detected, coming right at them.
That pilot has milliseconds to react. We're talking flares, jamming support coming in.
And this wasn't just any missile. It was identified as a Houthi SIA one of those heat-seeking types.
Infrared guided, yes. Which makes countermeasures like flares absolutely critical.
Just imagine being in that cockpit. I mean, try to put yourself there for a second. Radar screaming, missile inbound, and you're pulling a brutal 9-gram turn.
9 times the force of gravity. It's an extreme physical and mental test. It speaks volumes about the training our pilots have.
Definitely. And the sources mentioned the specific type of missile, the SIAD. That's not exactly a low-tech weapon, is it?
No, it really isn't. It suggests a certain level of sophistication, perhaps, pointing towards external support the Houthis might be getting. Definitely adds to the tension that was already sky high there.
Absolutely. And this wasn't happening in a vacuum, right? The Red Sea.
Ooh.
It's been a real flashpoint.
For months, yeah. Commercial tankers rerouting, U.S. destroyers on constant patrol.
And the Houthi forces, they seemed increasingly bold, didn't they? Especially after they managed to take down that U.S. drone not long before this.
That's a really key piece of context. Downing the MQ-9 Reaper, while a loss for the U.S. might have actually, emboldened them, made them feel they could push further.
So maybe this F-16 incident was them probing again, seeing what the reaction would be.
It certainly looks like a possibility. Perhaps a miscalculation on their part, underestimating how fast and how forcefully the U.S. might respond this time.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, strategically speaking. This F-16 wasn't just randomly flying around.
No, the intelligence suggests it was part of a much broader ISR net.
ISR intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Basically, it was there specifically looking for missile activity, like a tripwire.
Exactly. Its presence was intentional. It signifies a shift towards a more proactive intelligence posture, actively hunting for threats, not just waiting for them.
And that ties into the other big change, the rules of engagement. The Pentagon had apparently given new authorization.
A significant shift. Previously, a radar lock might have been treated differently.
But now, if radar locks onto the wrong U.S. asset, that's deemed hostile, straight up.
And a launch. That triggers automatic retaliation. No waiting for further confirmation necessary.
Which is a huge departure, right? From purely defensive to, well, almost preemptive defense.
It definitely lowers the threshold for an offensive response. It carries major implications for how crises are managed in hotspots like this.
So that's what we want to do today. Really dig into this whole sequence. We'll break down the near miss, the tech involved on both sides, and crucially, the strategic thinking behind that U.S. response.
Yes, understanding that chain reaction. The launch, the evasion, the data, the retaliation, and what message it sent, that's our goal here.
Okay, so back to the cockpit. Missile launch confirmed. The pilot reacts instantly, flares pop out, trying to confuse that heat seeker.
And gets electronic warfare support from an EA-18G Growler, from VAQ-140 apparently, jamming signals flying.
Then pulls that insane 9-gram turn. I mean, the stress on the pilot, the airframe, wow.
It's pushing everything to the limit. And you mentioned the pilot's call.
Yeah, Fox 3 defensive. Sounds like something out of Top Gun, but deadly serious. And thankfully, in this case, that first missile detonated early, didn't hit.
The combination of factors likely played a role there. The countermeasures, the Growler's jamming, the extreme maneuver. It might have just pushed the missile beyond its tracking capabilities. It shows the layers of defense working.
But the danger wasn't quite over yet, was it? The pilot's warning systems lit up again.
Multiple radar locks this time, and from different angles, suggesting a coordinated effort.
Identified as SA-6 systems. Now, those are older Soviet-era surface-to-air missiles, right? But still a threat.
Definitely, especially if they're as suspected Iranian copies that might have some upgrades. Even older systems, used effectively and maybe in numbers, can be very dangerous. It shows that you can't just dismiss legacy technology.
And while all this is happening, that EA-18J Growler is still up there, working its magic.
Essentially trying to blind the Houthi radar, creating electronic noise and interference. It's like an invisible shield, really. Critical in modern air combat.
Giving that F-16 pilot breathing room.
Exactly. Suppressing the enemy's eyes and ears electronically opens up space for our aircraft to operate and respond.
And here's another layer. Way, way up nearly 60,000 feet, there's a U.S. Navy drone, an MQ-4C Triton.
The Navy's high-altitude, long-endurance ISR platform. It's It's like an unblinking eye in the sky.
Just constantly watching, gathering thermal data, electronic signals,
Yeah.
seeing the whole picture develop.
That persistent surveillance is invaluable. It provides that strategic overview, tracking everything from missile launches to ground movements, long before and long after an engagement.
So the second that F-16 got painted by radar, the second that missile launched, all the data.
Radar lock specifics, the launch vector, the missile's thermal signature, its likely origin point based on GPS triangulation.
It's all being beamed, like, instantly, back to the USS Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group.
Pretty much. That data link allows for incredibly rapid analysis and decision-making on board the command ship. The retaliation clock starts ticking almost immediately.
It's staggering, the speed of information flow.
It really underpins modern network-centric warfare. Having the right information analyzed quickly allows for these kinds of responses.
And that's what triggered Package Bravo. Sounds like a secret plan, but it's more of a playbook, right?
Exactly. A predefined multi-domain strike sequence. It means coordinating different assets, missiles, aircraft, electronic warfare to hit back hard and fast against any system that attacks or even just locks on to U.S. forces.
So, first up in Package Bravo, Tomahawks.
4 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from a nearby Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Those vertical launch cells opening up.
These are the long-range hitters, right? GPS guided, fly low.
Very precise. And their targets were likely already loaded, based on previous intelligence, and updated with the real-time data from the F-16 incident.
And the targets were specific.
Yeah.
That missile launcher site that fired.
Target Alpha, yes. Also, a mobile radar vehicle, likely associated with the launch.
Target 1. Then a suspected command and control, or C2 hub, near Ross-Isa.
Target 2. And finally, an ammo storage depot. That last one, interestingly, was reportedly pinpointed using thermal scans from that high-flying MQ-4C Triton.
Wow, seeing the heat signature of hidden ammo. So the Tomahawks are inbound. But that's not all. Air power gets scrambled too.
Right, off the deck of the USS Truman carrier. First, an ETD Hawkeye launches. That's the airborne early warning, the eyes in the sky for the strike package.
Providing that electronic overwatch. Then more Growlers.
2 more EA-18Gs to ensure continued jamming dominance over the target area. Got to suppress those enemy radars.
Then the Strikers. 4 FA-18 Super Hornets.
Loaded for bear. GBU-38 JDAMs, those are GPS-guided bombs for precision ground strikes, and AGM-88 HARM missiles.
HARM standing for High-Speed Anti-Radiation Missile, designed specifically to hunt enemy radar emitters.
Exactly. It homes in on the radar signals themselves. So you have a mix of capabilities ready to go. A very deliberate, layered, offensive package.
Okay, so let's walk through the strike itself. It sounds like it was incredibly fast and coordinated.
The sequence was key. Growlers go in first, laying down that blanket of jamming, maybe even spoofing some systems.
Clearing the path.
Then the Tomahawks arrive. First hit in the launcher site, reports mention secondary explosions, suggesting they hit something volatile, maybe fuel or ordnance.
Good hit. Then the radar truck.
Taken out. Apparently, its radar signal blinked out right as the missile impacted.
Textbook. Then the Super Hornets move in.
They hit the suspected command post. Used a tactic described as jam to open, using electronic warfare to create a brief vulnerability, followed by one JDAM, then another to ensure destruction.
Double tap. And the ammo depot.
Clean strikes, low and fast, according to the sources. Neutralized.
Was that it?
Almost. There was apparently one last radar signal that popped up briefly from a different, maybe hidden, mountaintop location.
Trying to get a last look.
Possibly. But one of the Super Hornets launched a HARM missile, which silenced it pretty quickly. Took out that final radar threat.
Just comprehensive. And even after the explosions fade, the Triton is still watching.
Absolutely. That MQ-4C stays on station, using its sensors to monitor the aftermath, looking for heat plumes, secondary fires, any surviving vehicles trying to move, assessing the battle damage.
And ready to provide updated targeting if needed, right? If anything survived or regrouped.
Precisely. It provides that persistent overwatch for battle damage assessment and potential follow-on strikes.
Yeah.
It ensures the job is done.
The description's called the whole response surgical, and it really sounds like it. What made that possible?
It really comes down to the data gathered from that initial Houthi missile launch, the instant that F-16 was targeted.
All those details we mentioned, timestamps, telemetry, launch vector, GPS coordinates, thermal signatures.
That data was the key. It allowed for immediate analysis, confirmation of the threat origin, and the rapid queuing of those pre-planned response options under Package Bravo.
And you could feel the shift on board the Eisenhower, apparently, from defensive readiness
to full offensive posture, almost instantaneous, ready to launch and prosecute those targets.
But this strike, this whole Package Bravo, It wasn't just about breaking things, was it? There was a message here.
Oh, definitely. A significant strategic messaging component. Firstly, for the Houthis themselves. In that region, losing assets like this, especially after appearing bold, result in a loss of face. That matters.
And the message wasn't just for them. Who else was watching?
You have to assume major military powers, China, Russia, Iran, were paying very close attention.
Seeing the speed, the coordination, the lethality.
The message is unambiguous. Engaging U.S. air power, even speculatively, carries immediate and severe consequences. It demonstrates capability and resolve.
And things changed operationally after this too, right?
Yes, the posture shifted again. Now, there's a full combat air patrol, or CAP, maintained over the Red Sea.
Meaning?
2 fully armed fighter jets airborne, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A constant visible deterrent and rapid response capability.
So if we pull back and look at the big picture, we saw a near miss, a moment of extreme danger for that F-16 pilot.
Which escalated incredibly quickly into this multi-layered, coordinated, and very destructive U.S. response.
That single Houthi missile, which ultimately missed, ended up triggering a response that took out multiple key Houthi assets.
The key takeaways really are the speed, the integration of technology in different military branches, and how critical that real-time data was. It flipped from defense to offense in a heartbeat.
Which brings us to our final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on. This whole event, this rapid escalation and response, what does it tell us about the future of conflict? About how these rules of engagement are evolving in real time?
Does this set a new standard for the threshold of retaliation? When you can go from being targeted to launching a multi-domain strike almost instantly. What does that mean globally?
And how might other countries, seeing this unfold, adjust their own military calculations or their willingness to, test U.S. forces in the future?
It's a powerful demonstration of capability. What are the ripple effects? Potential for miscalculation on either side in the future. It raises some complex questions.
Definitely something worth thinking about, that speed, that decisiveness, and what it signals about modern warfare. Until our next deep dive, keep asking those questions.